Well, there is nothing on my table. Again, nothing in the works. Well, there is something on my table. The two Cesarevich, which I just finished, and the small gunboat, the two trumpeter kits, and this one is a Combrig. And now, speaking of the gunboat, the Koreets, if you remember, this one was present in the port of Chemulpo in Korea at the very beginning of the Russo-Japanese War, and it has a companion in that port, the cruiser Varyag, and those were the only Russian ships in the port, and the Japanese squadron, much more powerful, attacked them, and it was the short and conclusive battle of Chemulpo and so on. The two ships were destroyed. Now, I have two models for the cruiser Varyag. They are identical. They come from Trumpeter, and not from Trumpeter. Sorry, from Zvezda, another Russian or Ukrainian modeler. So yeah, they come from Zvezda, and they are identical, but I'm not in a mood to go into a Russian cruiser right now, especially not for the same period of time, for the same war. I just talked a lot about the Russo-Japanese War. I think it's time to give it a break for a while and to go to some other subject. Now, some other speaking of the Varyags, there are two of them. I have two of them, and they are similar, as I said. I think it's already the third time. I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. Am I gonna do a double build? Am I gonna record a double build? Am I gonna do one at a certain point in the future and the other one with another color scheme, perhaps? Sometimes down the road. I have no idea what's gonna happen with those two Varyags, but they are there in my stash. Now, changing the subject, I could go into the Second World War, and I have one or two destroyers, and I also have the two Royal Navy heavy cruisers, York and Exeter, and also I have a Langley, USS Langley. I have it in two formulas. One is the aircraft carrier around 1922, and the other one is an auxiliary carrier or a seaplane tender, seaplane carrier towards the end of its career in 1930, late 1930, beginning of 1940s. But I don't think I should go into the Langley also. I think it's too much of a change from these ships to go to a carrier right away. I don't know. What tempts me the most, to tell you the truth, is the HMS Lord Nelson or Agamemnon, its sister ship. They are both from Hobby Boss, one in 350, and they are semi-dreadnoughts. Now, I don't think I worked a model kit from Hobby Boss up to now. I don't think so. We'll see what that gives. Speaking about scale, all my stash that you've seen in some previous episode is entirely 1 in 350s. But I can see a lot of talented people going more and more into 1 in 200. My trouble is I have 20 models to be done in 350 today. There are 20 boxes, 20 kits, and I have a suspicion if I go to 1 in 200 I will never come back to 1 in 350. I'm not sure, but this is how I feel. So I'm very hesitant about buying 1 in 200. So for now I will have to stay in 1 in 350. So I think I will do the Lord Nelson or the Agamemnon. For sure it's not gonna be a double build. The last double build, this one, I mean the first and the last, consumed a lot of my energy. It took me a lot of patience. This first model was always 3 or 4 steps more advanced than this one. So each time I was finishing something here, I had to go back 3 or 4 steps in the back of the manual and to put all the details in my mind again to try to work up this one. So no, it's not gonna be a double build. It was too tiresome. Also, recording was a problem because I didn't record this one, but I had to do the work. So double the work, but just a simple recording. So no, I think it's gonna be a single build, and sometimes down the road I will build the second ship. Perhaps the same color scheme or differently, I don't know. Now I just pronounced a word that I didn't pronounce up to now, until now in this modeling series. I said semi-dreadnought. The story goes like this. Around 1900, very contemporary to the Cesarewitch, these battleships, they were having the main armament, the standard main armament, 4 guns of 12 inches, and the secondary armament varying between 6 and 7.5 inches or something like this, but usually it was 6 inches. Now, the fighting ranges at those times, around 1900, were considered to be realistical, 2,000-3,000 yards, roughly 2 to 3 kilometers, because it was kinda impossible to get the range and to have a proper firing procedure to coordinate the guns and so on for longer ranges. Now, this is the moment when a very talented British officer named Percy Scott came around, and he invented a lot of things, and he invented what's to be done for longer range, how these guns that were capable of firing at longer range, how these guns could be employed to fire at longer ranges, how to find the range, how to coordinate the fire, and so on. Now, he himself personally was quite a character. He was gambling, he was having all kinds of vices and so on. It was quite a scandal all the time around him on those times. And his boss, the famous Jackie Fisher, was saying, "I don't care if Percy Scott gambles, drinks or womanizes, he hits the target. Well, indeed, he was hitting the target to longer and longer ranges. And he was having quite powerful allies in the Navy, in the person of Winston Churchill, a young Winston Churchill, Lord Fisher, and John Jellicoe. So more and more the Royal Navy and other navies too, they started to consider what's going to happen when the enemy opens fire on you at 4, 5, 6 kilometers range. How do you respond to that? How do you answer to that? How can you find the range and how can you train your guns in a correct manner to hit back? And one of the conclusions that everybody understood, pretty much everybody understood around that time, was that these 6-inch guns were not very good, were not going to make a lot of damage beyond 5 or 6 kilometers. Now going into 8 or 10 kilometers, they were pretty useless. So an idea came to replace this secondary battery of 6 inches with something more powerful. And some of the navies started to replace them with 8 inches, and some of the navies started to replace them with 9.2 inches. The Royal Navy started to replace the secondary battery with 9.2 inches in a class of battleships called King Edward VII. I think they were initially they were supposed to be 8 battleships, and then because the following class was not yet designed, not completely, they decided for that financial year 1903-1904 to build another 3 King Edwards. So all in all, they appear to have been 11 of these ships. And the King Edwards, they were between the first semi-dreadnoughts, because this is how they call these ships, semi-dreadnoughts. They were not quite dreadnoughts. They didn't have turbine propulsion. They didn't have uniform main armament, uniform heavy, all big guns ships. The secondary battery getting more close to the main battery, they were classified as semi-dreadnoughts. And the British started the semi-dreadnoughts with King Edwards, and then I think with Lord Nelson's, and the Japanese had the Satsuma class and 2 ships, and there was another class of 2 ships. Mind you, those Satsuma class were supposed to have uniform 12 inches guns before the dreadnought itself, but they couldn't procure them fast enough, so they had to put the usual 4 12 inches, and then they populated with 10 inches guns in the secondary armament. The French had the Danton class, nice ships. There are some models from Trumpeter on the market for the Danton class, and the Germans didn't build semi-dreadnoughts. I think the Americans built some, yes, I don't know which one, but it's something about Carolina, South Carolina or something like this, semi-dreadnoughts, yes, very interesting times. And the Russians didn't. The Russians went from 6 inches guns to all big gun dreadnought type later in the game. Now, those Lord Nelsons I'm talking about, they were the last semi-dreadnoughts. There were two of them, Lord Nelson and Agamemnon. The last semi-dreadnoughts built for the Royal Navy. And interesting ships, very interesting ships. They were more powerful than the King Edwards, but there were only two of them, because in the meanwhile HMS Dreadnought came around and it was launched before the Lord Nelson. Lord Nelson was delayed because of the Dreadnought, and other ways of fighting were now accessible to the navies, and the semi-dreadnoughts pretty soon got obsolete. But there are different theories about the existing of these Lord Nelsons. For example, somebody said Lord Nelson and Agamemnon were built as a backup solution in case something went terribly wrong with the dreadnought itself. Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. Yeah, so those were times, and all this evolution happened within 3 or 4 years, and this is why you have King Edward, you have the Tsarevich, you have the King Edwards after that, and Lord Nelson's, and right away you have another generation, the Dreadnought itself. Very fast technological progress. So I believe, unless I change my mind pretty soon, I believe I will build one of the two, either Agamemnon or Lord Nelson, and it's not going to be a double build. It's gonna be single build, episode by episode. We start over. Yeah, and it's gonna be also always about my fun. Don't look at my ships as something to be repeated or followed, or in terms of standard or skill or whatever. My skills are very, very limited, but my fun is intact, and I like doing this, and I like telling stories, and I like to address myself to you and to talk about this naval stuff that I enjoy so much. I wanted to say something else. These episodes, if I can call them like this, these videos, nothing on my table, are a wonderful occasion to muse about things, to bitch about things, to dream in colors. And while dreaming in colors, I wanted to put together a short list, a small list of ships I would like to see on the market in the next couple of years. They have to be in plastic, because some of them are available from Combrig or from other manufacturers, but they are in resin, and I want them in plastic. And ideally 1 in 350, but 1 in 200 would be also interesting at some point, I don't know. So yeah, I was dreaming in colors about what the 2025 will bring us in terms of new models. And today is December 22nd, 2024. So by the time I plan all, by the way I plan all these uploads, I don't think you will watch this episode before 1st of March 2025. But look, this is my list, in no particular order. I didn't assign any criteria or any importance, but number 1 would be IGN Satsuma, the semi-dreadnought, the Japanese semi-dreadnought, 1906 or something like this, 1908. In second position, I would like to see the first generation British battle cruisers, HMS Invincible, for example, would be a nice addition. Number 3 would be a German armor cruiser. Would be the Scharnhorst, but not the DKM, Deutsche Kriegsmarine Scharnhorst, not the battle cruiser of the Second World War. Would be the First World War Scharnhorst, the SMS Seine Majestät Schiffe Scharnhorst, yes. Number 4, the Blücher, again, not the heavy cruiser from the Second World War, but the armor cruiser from the First World War, the SMS Blücher. Also the German Goeben. Number 5, SMS Goeben, the battle cruiser. I'd like to see for the 6th position the armor cruiser, the British armor cruiser, the Duke of Edinburgh. Of course, Black Prince would be a nice addition on this one. Well, they are the same class, so it doesn't matter which one. Number 7, the last 13.5 inches guns British battleship, the Iron Duke, HMS Iron Duke. I think it was 1910 or so. Number 8, the Italian San Giorgio, the armor cruiser San Giorgio, would be a late addition to the Italian armor cruisers, one of the latest, the last armor cruisers ever built. A very nice ship. Number 9, the first British real aircraft carrier, 1919 HMS Hermes. And number 10, the first Japanese purpose-built aircraft carrier, the IJN Hosho. It's interesting because we already have the trumpeter kit for the first American aircraft carrier, the USS Langley, but we don't have the first British and the first Japanese ones. They would be nice additions. Again, this is a short list. I have other ideas. I didn't want to complicate your life with all this, but I'm curious about what Trumpeter is gonna do in 2025, and Hobby Boss and Verifier and other companies who work in plastic. So it would be interesting to see. It would be interesting to see if any of these items that I just enumerate will be launched on the market next year. Would be something. I would be very happy, but I don't know. I don't know. Yes. That this concludes this episode, and I think next episode will have an a box opening for the Lord Nelson. Yes, HMS Lord Nelson. But we'll see about that.